fish in my best Kiwi accent. I love fish, but I think it's intimidating to a lot of home cooks. But it shouldn't be. It's not super complicated, and today I'm gonna run you through 9 techniques from whole to fried to grilled, and hopefully by the end of this video, you're gonna walk into your fishmonger the next time and you're gonna feel far more confident to buy a piece of fish or 3 or 4 to feed your family. So let's get stuck in. First up, the classic fish and chips. So I'm gonna make Heston's very crispy batter. I've made it before, it's very crispy. 100 grams of flour, plain bread flour, 100 grams of rice flour, not glutinous rice flour, half a tablespoon baking powder, about a tablespoon of honey, gets a nice color, a little bit of sugar, 150 mils of vodka. I have no idea why he uses vodka. I'm guessing there's some scientific reason, but I don't know what it is. And 150 mils of beer, which is pretty common in a lot of batters to use beer. Now, if you don't drink booze, or for whatever reason you don't want alcohol in your batter, just replace both liquids with sparkling water. It won't be quite as crispy, but it'll be pretty good. Give it a whisk, and you want it to be the consistency of like thick cream, or like pouring cream, if that makes sense. Don't stress too much about whisking it till it's completely smooth. You don't want to kind of over whisk it effectively. The recipe actually calls for one of these, which is a cream charger. You put nitrous oxide in here and it whips cream. However, I do not expect home cooks to have one of these, so we're gonna do it without it. All right, we're gonna leave this in the fridge until we're ready to use it. So what I've got here is a piece of blue eye cod. Works really well for fish and chips. Nice, big, firm, white flakes, and fries quite nicely. So cod's super popular in the UK for fish and chips. Not so much here. Most people get snapper when they're eating fish and chips here in Australia. We're just gonna season this, salt, into some flour. The reason we dust it in flour is so that the batter's got something to stick to the fryer. All right, oil's at 180. So we've dusted the excess flour off, and we go into the batter. Make sure it's all coating, including the part that you're gonna pick up. Pick it up, let a bit of the excess come off, and then straight into the oil, but don't drop it. You're gonna wait for it to pick up at one end effectively and float. When it floats, you can let the other end go, and that way it won't stick. Then we're just gonna dribble a few more pieces in on the top. That's gonna give us some nice crispy pieces on the outside. So it's holding temperature pretty well, which I'm pretty happy with. You don't need to move it too much, but make sure you move it pretty early on to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. But it's looking pretty darn good to me. I'm gonna flip it over. Take all these crispy bits out for Mitch to eat.
Thanks, chef.
We're gonna fry this for like 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the thickness. Quite a thick boy, this one. So we're gonna go maybe 9.5. But the color of the batter's a pretty good indicator, and that's getting nice and golden, which is what we're looking for. All right, this is ready to come out. Look at that color. Let as much oil drain off as you can over the pot of oil, or don't drop it like I just did onto a rack, and we'll go inside and season it. Season it straight away, and what that does is obviously seasons it. Serve it up with a nice big wedge of lemon, some tartar sauce maybe, triple cooked chips, or even in a bun. Have a little fish shanger. Well, let's see what that crunch is like. Oh, incredible. Look at that. That fish just kind of flakes apart. Guess we better have a taste. That light crunchy batter, nicely cooked fish. What's not to like about that? Next up, poaching fish. It's a method that we don't use much here in Australia and New Zealand. And it's a great method if you are trying to, I guess, be healthy, or you can also make it a method if you don't want to be healthy. Saute pan with a lid. Something with some sides, kind of use anything you want really. White wine, just enough to cover the bottom. I'm guessing that's about 3/4 of a cup. If you don't drink wine, you can use fish stock, or you can use some verjuice. If you're really desperate, you can just use water, to be perfectly honest. So to that, we're just gonna flavor that. It's got a shallot, which I've sliced up. You can just use onion if you want. And then I'm gonna put just the peel of the lemon in here. Now we don't want this to like rapidly simmer, I guess. We want it to just like lightly simmer. So now that's kind of the temperature, turn that element right down low. Then I got a piece of fish, which I've seasoned with salt and pepper, into the center of the pan and the lid on. That piece of fish that size was about 2 centimeters. Probably gonna take about 8 minutes to cook, but it's a great technique. This is one of these techniques you can do with any fish fillet. I wouldn't really probably do a whole fish in here. Well, you could actually, but it will literally work with any fish. We'll set a timer for 8 minutes, we'll come back and that should be beautifully cooked. And I'm gonna show you a little trick about how to turn that reduced white wine into a really nice butter sauce. Woo! All right, that was literally 8 minutes. Pull it out carefully and put it on a plate. Beautiful. Stunning, some might say. And then to turn this into a sauce, I'm going to turn that heat back up. Add the juice of a lemon. I'll reduce this a little bit. Now, in a restaurant, you would reduce this, then you'd pass all these big pieces off before you start whisking in the butter. But I'm not in a restaurant, I'm at home. I'm not going to create extra steps and extra dishes for Daz. So I'll just do it in the pan, and then when I go to serve it, I'll just avoid those big pieces. But if I get a couple of pieces of shallot, I'm not too stressed. All right, so once that's reduced by about 50%, which is pretty close to now, we're going to turn the temperature down to low. Your ice cold unsalted butter. Just one piece at a time, and you're just going to work that in there. If you just dump this all at the same time, your sauce will split. So once all that butter's melted and kind of incorporated, it's really important to cut the heat. Let's have a taste. Oh, delicious, zingy, zingy. What a word. Zesty, zingy. Just needs a little bit of salt, some chiffonade parsley, and I'm just going to leave those shallots in there. I think they look delicious. Time to plate. There you go, poached fish with a beurre blanc or a butter sauce. Sous vide. Now, it's a great method for cooking fish, especially in restaurants because it's super consistent, and it also works really well in the home. But I thought instead of just putting a piece of fish in a bag with some lemon, we'll do something a little bit more different. But the temperature and time that we're cooking it is kind of relevant whether you do this technique with the nori or not. So nori is a seaweed. This is actually a Korean version. You can use a Japanese version as well. The reason I like this method with the nori is I think it adds a really nice flavor and it kind of looks quite effective too. But by all means, you can just shove this in a bag, season it, and sous vide it. We're just going to use this nice big cannon of fish here. We'll trim the rest up and then we can save that for another recipe. Not about the same size as the nori. I'll take that piece off too. Stunning. You're gonna need some cling film handy. I'm just gonna season this quite lightly with salt, just because the nori will add quite a bit of saltiness too, depending on whether you've got a seasoned one or not. The nori fits really nicely on that piece. In it goes, wrap it up. Take our cling film. We're gonna ballantine it. We always call this ballantine. I don't actually know if that's the correct term, but effectively we're gonna wrap it up in this cling film nice and tight. Then we're gonna get lots of tension on it. Squeeze your ends in and then roll it and it will tighten up. Now we need to vac-pack it. So sous vide actually means under pressure. When we say sous vide, people often think we're talking about that thing. And that thing's not actually a sous vide, that's actually a water circulator. But it's one of those funny kind of kitchen terms that has double meanings, and well, not double meanings, but people always are like, that's not sous vide. Well, technically you're right, but. All right, into our sous vide bag, or our vac-pack bag. To the water circulator. There you go. So that's at 51 degrees. Probably actually gonna cook it for 45 minutes, then we'll pull it out. All right, time's up. Let's pull this out and have a look. So all we need to do now is carefully take this out of the plastic. Oh, I can smell the nori. It smells good. Cut the ends off. Worth mentioning, if you did just want to do a fillet just with seasoning, salt and pepper, you obviously don't need to put it into this cling film part. You just put it straight in the vac-pack bag. Maybe a little bit of olive oil if you want or not. So I'm just going to carefully run my scissors up here without trying to disturb that nori. Now you can serve it like that, or I'm going to cut it into 3. I'll take the end off first. So there you go, sous vide fish wrapped in nori. Not that complicated, and it looks like you know what you're doing. So next up, I'm gonna run you through a whole steamed fish. I've done this before in the Cantonese style dinner video a while ago, but it's one of my favorites, so I really enjoy this dish. So I've got a whole fish here. This is a red snapper. I got the fishmonger to scale and gut it for me. I guess I'm a bit lazy, and why not? And we're just gonna cut all these fins off, and the tail. Just be careful, these things are sharp. If they stab you, it hurts. The only other thing I've done is I've given it a good rinse out. Rinse that cavity out really well. We're just gonna score the fillets, both sides. Then we're gonna use a plate that we're gonna cook it on and serve it on. I've got some really finely sliced julienne ginger. Get some in the cavity there, got some on the bottom of the plate, got the fish on the plate, and some over the top. And the seasoning we'll deal with after. So I've got a big bamboo steamer here, lots of boiling water underneath it. Really careful, this stuff is hot and hurts. In that goes, oh, it only just fits. And we'll check this after 10 minutes. Okay, while that's doing its thing, we got 2 little sauces that are gonna go with it. Well, one's not really a sauce, one's just oil. But in this pot here, Shaoxing wine, cooking wine, light soy sauce, a little bit of water, some sugar, bring it to a light simmer. All we're trying to do is kind of dissolve that sugar. In the other pan, we're gonna add a high temp oil. So this is peanut oil. Use about 1/4 cup. And right before we're ready to serve, we'll get that ripping hot and pour it over the top. It opens up all the flavors and the aromats. Ooh, stunning. That was literally 9 minutes. Maybe turn the heat off. Be smart. Pull this out carefully. It's hot. Delicious. First step is we're gonna pour our little soy sauce, Shaoxing wine number all over. Now, got some julienne spring onion and that oil, just super hot. So it's gonna really carefully pour that hot oil all over the fish. There you go, steamed whole fish, lots of nice aromats, and a really easy one to pull off. Shove that in the middle of the table, some stir-fried veg and a bowl of rice. I'm a happy man. All right, grilling fish on a barbecue or a grill like this, whether it's gas or charcoal, it's intimidating. It can be really tricky, I'm not gonna lie. So a couple of tips on how to do it without it falling apart. Choose the right type of fish. So I've got a piece of barramundi here. It's quite a hearty fish, quite meaty, and the skin is quite hardy. It won't kind of break apart. That's kind of it. Other than that, don't move it too much. That's my other key tip. It's gonna have char on it, right? So before anyone jumps in the comments like, that's burnt, before I even cook it, I'm letting you know it's gonna have char on it. Oil, I like using olive oil, but you can really use whatever oil you want, and make sure that it's all over that skin. And then roll the rest of the flesh around in it so it's completely covered in oil. Season it with salt or whatever seasoning you wanna do on all sides. So this grill has been on for like an hour. The cast iron's really hot, it's like properly heat soaked. But I've turned it right down to low. Now it depends on your grill. This barbecue runs really hot, almost too hot to be perfectly honest. So it's really, really low, but you are trying to manage the heat. You don't want your barbecue ripping hot. That's the worst thing you want. You're gonna put this on and we're gonna leave it. Just a light press, let it go, let it do its thing. Now if you've got one of these barbecues with a hood, I do suggest you cook it with the hood down. And what that's going to give you is a bit of a convection to start cooking that flesh from the outside as well. All right, it's been about 5 minutes since that hit the grill, and you can see it's starting to get some nice color. We're going from an opaque to a white flesh on the side there. It's definitely won't be cooked through, but we can start looking at it. The trick is not to lift it up until it's ready. Well, how do you know it's ready? It'll tell you. If you take a little corner and you lift it and it comes off the bars, it's ready. If it just sticks, it's like, nah, not ready. I'm not coming up. Just leave it for a little bit longer. Flip it over and look at that. That is what you're looking for. Nice char lines, good color, skin's nice and crisp. Now at this point you want to turn the grill down as low as it is. Now this one's already as low as it will go. What I'm actually going to do is turn the grill off completely. There's no heat in there. Close the lid and let that go for another about 3 minutes and I reckon it should be good to come off. So it's been 3 minutes since we turned everything off. Let's have a look. It's feeling pretty good. I reckon 1 more minute and that's actually, I reckon that's pretty much good to come off. So again, just very carefully lift it up. If it doesn't come off, just let it go a bit longer. And if you've done like I've done, you've turned the grill off and it's sticking a little bit, then turn your grill back on. A little bit of heat under there will help. Just set up and it come out. There we go. Grilled fish. It is daunting, but once you nail it, it's a delicious and easy way to cook some fillets of fish. Whole roasted. Before we do that, you're probably asking, where's the pan-fried fish? Well, I did it a couple of weeks ago, and it's in this video up here. Click that banner and you'll be able to see a pan-fried piece of salmon in that video. Now the whole roasted has to be the easiest one of all time, and it's a real choose your own journey thing. Get a good oven tray, something with a bit of weight to it ideally. Good amount of olive oil across the bottom. Take your fish. I've prepared this the same way that I did for the steamed. Took the, cleaned out the cavity really well, scored the flesh, took all the spikes and the tail and stuff off, and rolled it around in that oil. We're gonna season the fish really well with salt. Inside the cavity, get a few slices of lemon in there. Got a peeled clove of garlic that I'm just gonna slice. That can go in there. You can really flavor that with whatever you want. Put some thyme in there, some rosemary, You can put kind of, more Asian-y herbs, put a bit of chili, a bit of ginger, a bit of garlic, whatever you want. It's kind of a more traditional European style. And in the oven it goes. Straight into a nice hot oven. And that oven is at 220 Celsius, which is about 430? 430 Fahrenheit. We'll check that after about 10, 12 minutes. We should be good to go. 12 minutes later, and it's looking good. So we're just gonna loosen it off the bottom onto the plate. You can just eat it like that. We can garnish it with some basil oil, some fresh basil, nice tomato salad, some roast potatoes. Stunning. Over coals. This is one of my favorite methods when I'm camping. You're gonna need one of these, a little fish grate thing. This one's a good one because you can kind of, it folds down, so it's easier when you're camping. And then you're gonna need some fish, surprisingly. Get some oil on your fillets. You can do a whole fish in here as well if you wanted to. And you can kind of do any type of fish really. This is some red emperor. Season it well, both sides. And then into the grate. Doesn't really matter what way you put it, but make sure you put them, if you got more than one fillet, the same way up, if that makes sense. Close it up to the coals. To the coals! All right, these coals have burnt down nicely. It doesn't look like it's hot, but that is ripping hot. I've got half of it with coals, half of it without, and that way we've got somewhere to move when we kind of start getting a bit hot. So skin side down first, and we'll get some heat right into that. So we'll end up cooking this probably 80% of the way on this side down, and we'll just flip it over the last kind of 10% just to make sure that it's cooked all the way through to the center. Well, cooked to our liking anyway. This is exactly what we're after, these little hot spots. All right, we're looking pretty good on this side, and you can see here that it's cooked. It's almost cooked all the way through just from that heat underneath. So I'm happy with the color on this side. It's time to flip it, that last 10%. Good to go. All right, now we're just gonna try and get this out of here. They can be a bit tricky. Hold it down with something like a chopstick. There you go. This is one of my favorite ways to grill fish because you get that, the smokiness coming through and those little flames licking up in these little nice little dark spots. Delicious. All right, deep fried whole fish. Very similar to before. Take all the fins off. Trim the tail. Score. Season inside all those cracks as well, in the cavity. And then I have some seasoned flour. In that goes. Make sure that you get all the flour into those cracks as well, because they're all gonna open up and get all nice and crispy. Crispy. Dust all the excess off, and then to the oil. Oil's at 170 degrees. Just gonna get it in real carefully here. Just gonna carefully roll it over. And this will only cook for about 8 to 10 minutes, won't take long. All right, 10 minutes later, we've got some nice golden color and it's nice and crispy. Just get a lot of that oil to drain off it and onto a tray. So I like to serve this really simply with this kind of cheat sauce that I make. So put that on a plate. Then I've got the sauce here, and all this is store-bought red curry paste that I've sauteed down, and then I season it with some palm sugar, a bit of lemon juice, and let it out with a little bit of water and a little bit of fish sauce if it needs some salt. Now I go super generous with it. Some spring onions. There you go. Crispy whole fish and a delicious red curry sauce. All right, last but certainly not least, this is a very old school French technique, fish in a bag. It's one of the first things you usually learn in culinary school for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe the curriculum's changed. Some lemon down on a decent sized piece of parchment paper. Now this is a great one for salmon, works really well, but a lot of fish works well on this dish, like white fish. Nothing too oily though. Salmon's probably about as oily as you want to get. You want to do like mackerel or anything. Skin side down on top of the lemon, season with salt. And I've got some fennel here that we'll lay around. Just a little drizzle of olive oil and a little drizzle of white wine. Now the white wine is really important because it effectively steams the fish. So once this comes up to temperature, the wine will start bubbling, creating steam. So another thing to remember is because of that, we need to make sure this is as airtight as we can get it. So bring the four sides together, scrunch them nice and tight, making sure there's no like poking out edges, if that makes sense. Got a piece of string here. We're gonna tie this up real tight. This is a great dish if you're doing a dinner party, because you can kind of make these during the day or whenever. And then you just need to pop them in when you're ready to eat your main course. So there you go, there's our fish in the bag. We'll pop that on a tray. Into the oven. And it goes. So that oven's on 190°C, which is 374 exactly in Fahrenheit. I reckon that's gonna take 10 minutes and we'll pull it out. Let's have a look. Looking good. So that's how I would serve it, onto the table like that in front of your guests. And then simply cut the top of the bag off. Take that away. And you get this little parcel of fish. Delicious way to cook fish. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As you can see, it's really not that hard and everything takes like literally under 10 to 12 minutes to cook. Like this video if you take anything from it, subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace.